Most people do not notice the first moment their body begins to lose strength. It does not happen with some dramatic snap or sudden collapse. It shows up quietly. One day you carry groceries with one hand and switch sooner than you used to. You climb stairs and feel your legs talking back. You open a tight jar and hesitate for a second. And because life is busy, you tell yourself it is stress, bad sleep, or just getting older. But here's the part that should make you stop and listen. For many adults, strength does not start fading in old age. The earliest measurable decline can begin around your 30s, long before you think of yourself as someone who needs to worry about muscle loss. That matters because strength is not only about looking fit or lifting heavy things. It affects balance, metabolism, independence, blood sugar control, and even how well you handle illness later in life. So if daily tasks feel a little harder than they used to, this is for you. Before we go further, I'm Dr. Steve Collins, and if you want calm, practical health guidance you can actually use, subscribe now and stay with this channel. These small lessons can help you protect your body years before bigger problems show up. What you are about to hear is not meant to scare you. It is meant to help you notice what most people miss, while there is still plenty you can do about it. We are going to talk about when strength loss usually begins, why it starts earlier than most people think, the signs that show up first, and the simple habits that can slow it down. And keep that grip strength clue in mind, because when we come back to it later, the whole picture will make much more sense. Sign 1. Everyday tasks start feeling strangely heavier. This is often the first sign, and it is easy to dismiss. Strength is your ability to produce force. In simple terms, it is how well your muscles and nervous system work together to move, carry, push, or pull. When strength begins to slip, the earliest changes usually do not appear in the gym. They appear in ordinary life. A laundry basket feels awkward. A child feels heavier on your hip. A backpack seems to drag on one shoulder. You stand up from the floor and use your hands without thinking. Why does this happen? Part of it comes from gradual muscle loss. Muscle tissue naturally changes with age, and after about age 30, many adults begin to lose a small amount of muscle mass each decade if they are not actively training. But muscle size is only part of the story. Your nervous system also becomes slightly less efficient at recruiting muscle fibers, which means the signal from brain to muscle is not as sharp as it once was. The result is subtle, but real. Most people miss this because the change is slow. There is no single day where everything feels different. And because the tasks still get done, the problem stays hidden. But here is the part that surprises most people. When simple tasks begin to feel heavier, your body is often compensating in ways you do not notice. You lean more, twist differently, and use momentum instead of strength. Over time, that can increase joint strain and raise the risk of back pain, falls, and inactivity. Think about the last time you stood up from a low couch and pushed off with both hands. That is not failure. It is information. Sign 2. Recovery takes longer than it used to. You do the same walk, the same weekend project, the same workout, and yet your body needs more time to settle down. That soreness is not always a sign of damage, but it can be a clue. As we age, the body becomes a little less efficient at repairing muscle after physical effort. Protein synthesis, which is the process of building and repairing tissue, becomes less responsive. Hormones that support muscle maintenance also change gradually over time. Sleep quality may decline. Daily stress may increase. The body still adapts, but it often needs a stronger signal and better recovery to do it well. In real life, this looks like feeling wiped out after yard work, needing 2 or 3 days to recover from a light workout, or avoiding activity because you already know how you will feel afterward. Many people blame this entirely on being busy. Some blame it on their mattress, their shoes, or one bad night of sleep. Sometimes those things matter, but slower recovery can also be one of the earliest signs that your muscle system is losing resilience. And this next one, I want you to pay very close attention to, because recovery affects behavior. When effort feels expensive, people naturally start moving less. They skip walks, they avoid stairs. They say no to recreational sports. That seems small in the moment, but it creates a loop. Less movement leads to more deconditioning, and more deconditioning makes every movement feel harder. If that loop continues for years, strength drops faster than it should, and metabolic health often worsens with it. But here's the real question. Why does nobody talk about this earlier? Probably because most people think strength loss is only obvious when it becomes severe. In reality, the first stage is often hesitation. Sign 3. Your grip is not what it used to be. This is the sign I teased at the beginning, and yes, it matters more than most people realize. Grip strength is exactly what it sounds like. How strongly your hand and forearm can squeeze and hold. It may seem like a tiny detail, but researchers often use grip strength as a quick marker of overall muscle function because it tends to reflect broader changes in the body. It is not the whole story, but it is a very useful clue. Why does grip weaken? Some of it is simple disuse. Many modern tasks involve tapping and scrolling, not carrying, hanging, lifting, or squeezing. Some of it comes from loss of muscle fibers and changes in nerve signaling. Joint stiffness can play a role too. And when overall activity drops, hand strength often drops along with the rest of the body. In everyday life, weaker grip shows up when jars feel harder to open, shopping bags dig into your fingers sooner, or you avoid carrying multiple things at once. Maybe you notice your handshake feels different. Maybe you hold a railing more tightly than before. Most people blame their wrists or assume it is just normal aging in the hands. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it is your body sending a bigger message. Let that sink in for a second. What I'm about to tell you changes everything. Lower grip strength has been associated in research with poorer future health outcomes, including lower mobility and higher risk of disability later in life. That does not mean a weak grip predicts your destiny. It means grip can act like a dashboard light. It tells you to pay attention before larger declines become obvious. If ignored, the long-term issue is not just opening jars, it is losing reserve, the extra physical capacity that protects you when life becomes demanding. Sign 4. Stairs start exposing the truth. A lot of people can hide strength loss on flat ground. They can walk through a store, move around the kitchen, and feel mostly normal. Then stairs enter the picture, and suddenly the truth comes out. Climbing stairs requires your body to produce force repeatedly through the hips, thighs, calves, and core, while also coordinating balance. It is one of the simplest real-world strength tests most people do without thinking. Why is this one so revealing? Because stair climbing asks for power, not just movement. Power means how quickly you can produce force, and power often declines earlier than people expect. That is why someone may still be able to complete a task, but it feels slower, shakier, or more exhausting than before. The muscles are working, but the reserve is smaller. Real-life signs are easy to recognize once you stop ignoring them. You reach the top of the stairs and need a moment. You start using the handrail every time. Your legs feel heavy after just one flight. You avoid carrying things upstairs because it feels riskier than it used to. Here is where many people get it wrong. They think the problem is only their lungs or only their knees. Sometimes those do matter, but reduced leg strength and power are often part of the picture. Stay with me, because the connection I am going to explain next is something many people never hear. When leg strength declines, activity often drops. And when activity drops, blood sugar control, body composition, and cardiovascular fitness can all worsen together. Strength loss is rarely just about muscles. It can quietly reshape your whole health trajectory. Before I continue, I want to ask you something. Have you ever noticed stairs feeling harder, even though you have not changed much else? Drop a yes or a no in the comments right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps me understand what you are dealing with, so I can make better videos for you. Sign 5. Your balance feels fine until it suddenly does not. This one is subtle because balance is easy to take for granted right up until the moment it feels unreliable. Balance is not just about the inner ear. It depends on vision, the nervous system, joint awareness, reaction time, and muscular strength, especially in the hips, legs, feet, and core. When strength begins to fade, the body has a harder time making quick corrections. That means tiny stumbles become more common, especially when you are tired, distracted, or moving on uneven ground. Why do people miss it? Because the body is amazingly good at compensating. You widen your stance, you slow down, you avoid turning quickly, you choose supportive shoes, you stop walking in the dark without realizing why. None of those changes feel dramatic, so they rarely trigger concern. But here is the part most people completely overlook. Balance problems are often not just balance problems. They can be early signs that muscle strength and coordination are no longer as robust as they once were. Picture this: you step off a curb a little awkwardly. 10 years ago, your body corrects instantly. Now there is a half-second delay, not enough to fall, just enough to notice. That moment matters. It tells you your body's response system may be losing sharpness. And here is what makes this important long-term. When people feel less steady, they unconsciously move less. They become more cautious. That sounds sensible, but too much caution can become physical decline in disguise. Less movement means less stimulation for muscles, bones, and the nervous system. The body learns from use. If use decreases, capability often follows. But here is the real question. What if the thing you have accepted as normal aging is actually an early signal you can still respond to? Sign 6. You are doing less, but feeling more tired. At first glance, this seems backward. If you are doing less physical work, should you not feel more rested? Not necessarily. One of the strange effects of declining strength is that ordinary activity starts costing more energy. When muscles are less efficient and your reserve is smaller, the same daily tasks take a greater percentage of your capacity. That means your body works harder to do things that once felt automatic. The biology here is straightforward. Muscle is metabolically active, which means it plays a major role in how your body handles energy and blood sugar. When muscle mass and strength decline, energy regulation can become less efficient. Combine that with less movement, poorer sleep, more sitting, and natural age-related changes, and fatigue can show up even as activity drops. In real life, this may feel like being oddly drained after errands, chores, or a short walk. You are not necessarily out of breath. You just feel flat. Many people blame aging itself or assume they have become lazy. That interpretation is usually unfair and often inaccurate. Sometimes the body is not asking for less effort. It is asking for better support and stronger muscles. And the next point is where this all turns hopeful. Strength loss is not something you simply watch happen. The body remains adaptable for decades. Muscle can respond to challenge later in life. Balance can improve. Power can improve. Recovery can improve. But first, you have to notice the signs honestly. Imagine two people in their 40s, 50s, or 60s. One accepts every small decline as inevitable and gradually shrinks their world. The other treats those same signs as a cue to rebuild. A year later, their lives may look very different. That is why this matters. Not because you should panic, but because earlier action changes the direction of the curve. So when does this process really begin? For many adults, measurable strength decline starts somewhere in the 30s, even if the effects become more obvious after 40 and beyond. There is no magical birthday where everything changes overnight. It is a trend, not a cliff. Genetics matter, illness matters, activity level matters, nutrition matters, sleep matters, but the broad pattern is consistent. If you do nothing, strength usually drifts downward with age. If you challenge your body appropriately, you can slow that drift and sometimes reverse part of it. And here is the piece that ties everything together. Most people wait for a crisis. They wait for the back pain, the fall, the scary lab result, the moment stairs feel impossible, the moment they can no longer trust their body. But strength usually whispers before it shouts. It shows up in grocery bags, in low chairs, in slower recovery, in balance slips, and yes, in the firmness of your grip. Remember the specific clue from the beginning. Grip strength matters because it is often the quiet signal that your overall physical reserve is changing. Not perfectly, not by itself, but meaningfully. When your grip weakens, your body may be telling you that force production, nerve muscle coordination, and everyday resilience are not what they once were. That is why this simple sign is so easy to miss and so important to respect. It is not about the jar, it is about the future version of you. The earlier you notice it, the more time you have to protect what matters. Mobility, confidence, independence, and the freedom to keep doing ordinary life without thinking twice. So here is the single most important takeaway. Strength loss often begins earlier than people expect, often around the 30s. And it matters because strength is one of the foundations of long-term health. It shapes how well you move, recover, balance, and age. The good news is that your body is not finished learning. It still responds to use. Today, do one simple thing. Test your body honestly. Stand up from a chair without using your hands if it is safe for you. Notice how the stairs feel. Pay attention when you carry bags. Notice your grip when you open a jar or hold something heavy, not to judge yourself, just to gather information. Awareness is where change begins. Then give your muscles a reason to stay. Walk, climb, carry, and practice simple strength work consistently because the body keeps adapting when you ask. And if you want more clear, steady guidance like this, stay close. Subscribe to the channel and join me, Dr. Steve Collins, in the next video where we will talk about the daily habit that protects muscle and balance better than most people realize. Your future strength is built in small moments, and the next one can start today.